Mm, no, scusa, come faccio per condividere? Ah, condividi. Boh.
For those connected online, just an additional 3 minutes. Director General of the Fisheries and Aquaculture is arriving, is just downstairs. Thank you. So, let's start. Excellencies, because we have the pleasure to have with us a representative of the Embassy of Kenya with us today. Thank you for joining us. And authorities, of course, ladies and gentlemen. So good afternoon, and welcome you all in the magnificent rooms of Palazzo Colonna, headquarters of the Italian Shipowners Association, but also of the Italian Maritime Cluster Federazione del Mare, and to all those who are online. Some speakers are online, and I think that you are quite numerous to be connected through the Diplo channels, the web channel on which all streaming events of the Diplomacy Festival are broadcasted. My name is Laurence Martin. I'm the Secretary General of the Federazione del Mare, and it's an honor for me to moderate this afternoon workshop. This year again, the Federazione del Mare is part of this amazing program of the 14th edition of the Festival della Diplomazia, let's say it in Italian, that is underway from last Thursday till this Friday, with more than 100 events scheduled in different locations around the city. And you know that this year the title of this cultural event is Betting on the Human Factor in a Machine World Against All Odds. And if you allow me la battuta, as we would say in Italian, this afternoon together we will investigate how we are betting on the woman factor to implement the concept of sustainable blue economy in a man world against all odds. So, kidding apart, I know that maybe Giorgio Bartolomucci is probably online, probably. I just wanted to say that from the very beginning, Confitarma and Federazione del Mare are by your side, the Festival della Diplomazia, because the first edition, we had a meeting, you remember, Carlo, that we had a meeting with diplomacy many years ago. And for the second year in a row, we have decided again to dive in the blue economy gender equality dimension. And we are doing it because a global revolution is underway. That is the fourth green industrial revolution. All sectors of the blue economy have to digitalize, decarbonize, and circularize their activities. And as the oceans have been identified crucial for the global economic recovery, as the President von der Leyen said some years ago, why using only half of the population, half of the ideas, or half of the energy in this delicate transition period? So let's do it together. So in the next 19 minutes to come, we will underline how to secure the support of women in that process as agent of change towards a more sustainable Europe. And we are doing, you could ask me why we do it again. We do it again because it is, there is always a lot to tell on the subject, if only because there is still a lot to be done. Even if things are moving in the right direction, women are representing only 2% of the overall workforce in the blue industry, and only 20% of the workforce of national maritime authorities in member states. So women are still the invisible ones of the ocean, as many name them, even if more and more they are periodically under the spotlight. And lately we have seen many international, regional, national, local events talking on these themes. However, I think that we have to intensify that history repeating narrative, because one a one-day celebration or event will never solve one of the oldest problems in the world, that is the place of women in society and in the economy. As a swallow, and it is a say in French, but I think it is a saying also in Italian, as a swallow does not make a spring, we still have to drive the nail in again and again. So, because cultural prejudices, cliché and stereotypes are difficult to eradicate, and no need to hide that it is taking a lot of time. So this afternoon, we will try to go beyond talking. We would like also to report on concrete actions underway, not only sport, let's say sport individual fragmentic actions that from the virtuous associations, because around we will have some quite interesting testimonies, but we want to report on an EU policy line strategy on which we based a lot of hopes. Because since 2020, we have a policy line, and we have a policy line, and Elena Vera and Rebecca Ponin knows that, because there is a will that has been expressed clearly at the beginning of the mandate of the European Commission, 2019, 2023, that is 24, we all know that when there is a will, there is a way. And briefly, the new political context in 3 steps is the following. First, we had the EU Gender Equality Strategy 2020-2025, and that is little by little delivering on the von der Leyen Commission's commitment to achieving a union of equality. I don't want to cite again what I said before, that is, we are using only half of the population, half of the ideas, and half of the energy, and this is not good enough. We have to go beyond. So based on this clear crystal, let's say, framework assumption, DG Mare adopted in 2021 the quite well-known, that is the block of our thinking, that is the sustainable blue economy communication, in which it's clearly stated 3 things. Yes, we want to promote gender balance in the maritime professions. 2, yes, we want to invest in data collection, consolidation, and analysis on women working in the maritime sector. And 3rd, we want to increase women's representations in the workforce and raising their profile in the formal governance of the blue economy. The 3rd step, and that is where we are coming to the heart of the topic this afternoon, an EU call for proposal has been launched in May 2022, Women in the Blue Economy. 2 sister projects have been selected at EU level, presented this year at the European Maritime Day and in Brest, and to put on track what with the European Commission hopes to be a roadmap on which to base concrete actions in the years to come. And this afternoon, I'm really pleased that we have the 2 coordinators, let's put it that, the 2 coordinators of these 2, let's say, landmark projects, Win Big and Win Blue. So the first project is Women in Blue Economy, Intelligence Gathering and Capacity Boosting, Win Big. Coordinator Elena Vera. And the second project, the sister project, is Empowering Women and Mainstreaming Gender Equality in the Blue Economy, the Win Blue. As you can see, it's a win-win affair, so there is no margin of error. We are going to win, for sure, with such a title. And without any further ado, because we have only 80 minutes and a remarkable panel around that has to be vocal, I give the floor to you, Elena Vera. Elena, it's really an absolute pleasure to have you today. You are the coordinator of the Win Big project, I say, our common project, because Federazione del Mare is also part as a work package leader, then we will see that later. You are a coordinator researcher, ERA chair holder of the Environmental Economics and Natural Resources Department of the University of Aveiro in Portugal. We had the pleasure to be there some month ago. But you're also a former Director General of Maritime Policy of the, I think it was the 22nd government of Portugal. I think it's right. Without any further ado, Elena, you have the floor to tell us what we don't know, but we have to know about the Win Big project. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Laurence, for such an enthusiastic introduction. I'm going to try and share my screen with you, and I ask you to let me know if you are seeing the presentation in, yes, you are, in presentation mode. So it's a pleasure to be here to such an important event. Again, I admire Laurence and her tenacity for bridging the gap for women in blue and for pushing us all to be here. So thank you, Laurence, it's a pleasure. And I came to you to speak about this great project called Win Big. And Win Big, in a very quick nutshell, is a project that started in May this year, so May 2023. It's a very recent project. It is a project that it's developed by 14 partners that cover the Europe wide, and all 6 EU sea basins are covered within our consortia and extended network stakeholders, because it is quite relevant for the work we are trying to do. And what are we trying to do? Nothing less than mapping the current status of gender unbalance that still occurs in blue economy, focusing on the emergent sectors, because we do have some data available for the maritime sector, for fisheries and aquaculture, for example, not in all countries, but we do have some data. But for the most, most emergent, high-tech sectors of blue economy, this is not true. For sustainable tourism, for example, for offshore aquaculture, for marine renewable energies, for robotics, for biotech, this is not the case, and therefore we are trying to map the gender status in blue economy across the 6 EU sea basins. But also, while doing that, we want to understand what are yet the capacity gaps or the skill sets that are needed for women to actually climb the professional ladder and reach the top at the ocean economy, and what it's impeding more women to actually enter these sectors. Why now? I think Laurence did a great job in explaining this slide. Blue economy is still a traditionally male-dominated economy. I think we all agree to this in all established sectors, but this is also true in the emergent sectors. So we are kind of repeating the same patterns in more recent and emergent sectors. Overall, in the world, women represent about 29% of the overall workforce, but in blue economy, they represent about 20% of the maritime, national maritime authorities, for example. And if we go to seafarers, this number goes down to 2% only. So this means that we are not even using half of the power that we could be using here. When we have women on board in blue economy, this is also true. They have the lowest paid, least protected, and lowest status position. Therefore, their contributions are being undervalued and overlooked. Also, and very important to the European Commission and to the DG Mare, is that there is no data actually available there, and the data that there is available, it's at national level, it's hard to get, it's not centralized. So how can you make decisions and policies to implement this if we don't know where the data is? Also, as European being a leader continent in providing examples of how to do things in a equality, fair, and just mode, there is a need for gender equality to be mainstream and appropriate legislation and policy initiatives to be created for women overall, and blue economy can be a good pilot sector to test this as well, to actually have in the future, according to the blue economy communication and Ms. von der Leyen expectations, a more gender balanced economy. So to whom are we working? We are working to women, mostly women professionals, entrepreneurs, young scientists, young women, to all blue economy sectors, emerging and traditional, to clusters and associations like Federazione del Mare and many other clusters that want to foster and promote women. We are working for the youth, for inspiring the youth and to provide them also some voice, to researchers, to policy making, to provide them data. But very importantly, I would like to state that we are also working for men. Women and the gender issue in Europe needs to have male allies and advocates for gender equality, because indeed, if they are the majority and mainstream decision makers, they need to be engaged as well. So what are we doing? We have 5 key objectives in our project. The first and I think the most challenging one to start with is the mapping exercise. We will be launching our initial survey and pilot test of surveying gender status in a month, more or less, in the Mission Arena in Gothenburg, Sweden, under the Mission Ocean events for Mission Banos. We will be launching that survey there. We will do several workshops and information gathering. We are building a database of organizations across Europe to actually reach out to get this data. And we will also at the same time use the same survey to do some capacity gaps mapping, trying to identify what is still lacking, what are the main hurdles. Are they basin specific? Are they sector specific? Is there any particular issue that it's coming across all sea basins, and how can we tackle them, so that we can then go to the next side of the slide where we can design tailored specific training and mentoring programs, labs, learning labs for these women to be boosted across the blue economy. We also want to facilitate and create models of events that are safe havens for women to share their experiences, to voice their concerns, but also to learn about exciting opportunities to collaborate and to feel that others, institutions are providing opportunities for them to grow. And very importantly, and least but not last at all, is the raising awareness. We have a massive number of deliverables that we want to produce and outputs that will raise awareness from the younger girls to the the grandparents and the grandmothers, to politicians, and to everybody that wants to be aware of these gender issues. So what are we going to deliver in the end? So let me start here. We will build this database, this blue economy gender database, as a living database that can be fed with data as it comes, even beyond project duration. We want to provide six reports on how is the gender status in the 6 sea basins of Europe. Built a capacity building roadmap, because the project has a duration, and I'm sure there will be much more to do. So we will provide a roadmap for future decision making, entrepreneurial training, and do some mocks, so massive online content courses to help any woman in any location in Europe and in any sector of the blue economy to have access to these trainings. We will create a mentors of the future network, and here we want lots of men and lots of inspiring women champions to be on board this mentor network. We will do these 3 networking and sharing specific sea basin events, an inspirational Women in Blue book, a pop-up exhibition showcasing the champion women of all these sea basins that we will select and want to promote and inspire young people, a forum for sharing and job opportunities, and hopefully contribute to a Netflix HBO streamed documentary, Women at Sea. So the impacts in the end of the project will be not only dissemination of the results of gender data, of networking opportunities, of career opportunities, but also bring visibility to these women, bring visibility to this issue, bring visibility to the good players in this area, and hopefully increase the status level of some of these women in their current jobs. So this is the Win Big project in a nutshell. We are really on a launching ramp at the moment, trying to put everything going. I'm sure that in the next European Maritime Day in May, we will have a lot more to show you and some data, hopefully, to share with you. At the moment, we are working in this behind the scenes to make all this happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you to you, Elena. You have very ambitious targets, but clear idea on how to proceed. But here in the room, I think that I'm going to give you the floor to Lidia Rossi, because as I was saying, Federazione del Mare is part of the project, is work package leader 3. Tell us more, Lidia.
Good morning. Thank you to Laurence and Elena for this introduction of the project. As said, Federazione del Mare plays a crucial role in this project since it's work package leader of linking and networking activities. It means that mainly we will work to strengthening links and synergies between women operating in the blue economy sectors, and we will also responsible to, let's say, boost women's capacity building and promote job and careers opportunities for women, to, let's say, also enhance the women's role in the blue careers. So basically, during our work package implementation, we are responsible to organize a Mediterranean big event in Rome, since we are responsible to organize the stakeholder engagement at Mediterranean level. So we are going to create some specific events for co-working spaces, roundtables, workshops that will enhance the women's role in the blue career, will inspire young women to be attractive for blue career opportunities, and also we will promote also matchmaking events to, let's say, also create synergies with investors and financing players in order to ensure a long-term perspective for the role of women in the blue economy sector. That's mainly the frame, but of course, if you need further details on the actions, we are available. Thank you.
Thank you to you. By the way, to all those here present in the room and those online connected through Diplo channel, if you want, all the presentations will be available on request. Do not hesitate to contact us if you want more details concerning Win Big and Win Blue. And so, without any further ado, time to shift to Win Blue after Win Big. Rebecca Poni, you're an academic, a senior researcher at the University of Siena, and with Patrizia Grifoni, you are the one behind, let's say, the one Win Blue. Without any further ado again, I give you the floor. Tell us more about the sister project. You have to know that Win Big and Win Blue are working hand in hand, are complementary, and the synergies are real between the two teams conducting these two projects. Please, Rebecca.
Good afternoon, everybody. I will try to share my presentation. Just a moment. Do you see the presentation?
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us to present the WinBlue project. My name is Rebecca Pogni. I am partner of the project, and today I am in place of our coordinator, Dr. Patrizia Grifoni. So, as one mentioned by Mrs. Martin, this the WinBlue project is the sister project of WinBig. It is an NFAF-funded EU project, and we have the consortium is composed by 12 partners from 7 countries, and in our project we will cover 4 sea basins. The project intended to accelerate the empowerment of women in the blue economy in 5 different sectors, like circular blue bioeconomy and biotechnology, aquaculture and fisheries, sustainable coastal maritime tourism, offshore renewable energy, and cutting-edge enabling technologies. So these are the 5 sectors which will be covered during the duration of our project, and differently from WinBig project, the WinBlue project has a duration of 2 years. So in this time, we want to increase participation and representation of women in the different sectors I have mentioned before, to increase knowledge and collect data on women's contribution to the sustainable blue economy, to advance gender equality, and to promote women's leadership toward participation in governance structure and decision-making organizations. To do this, WinBlue project will release methods and practices through training and coaching activities to collect and select data and publication of good practices, to select the best practices in order to scale up these and to as an example of good practices in the blue bioeconomy, and in order to give some information to national and EU policymakers and for legacy of the project after its end. So the WinBlue work plan is divided into, the activities are divided into 5 work packages. At the moment, all the work packages are started. The project started in May 2023, and now we have launched a survey in order to collect the stakeholders in the 5 sectors, and these work packages are all interconnected, because from the information from work package to the other will be used in order to have the great number of stakeholder engagement and cooperation between the different stakeholders in order to improve, to maximize the impact of the project results. Here, in a nutshell, you can see the WinBlue approach. So at first, we are collecting a massive data on stakeholder, and as I mentioned before, there is a link between the different work package, between related projects and policymakers. So the objective, the results of the WinBlue project are I mean, there are great, we think that we will have nice results, starting from, as you can see, our objective is to collect around 800 stakeholders identified in the different 5 sectors. So we launched 5 WinBlue labs many interviews, and then, as I told you before, we will select the best good practices, at least 25 best practices, which good potential for replicability, and but at the same time we will work a lot on the gender equality plan models, because we want to produce at the end of the project one gender equality plan per each sector analyzed, and then we will have a training workshop, coaching activity, and with thinking also to a legacy plan of the project. In this context, we have launched the WinBlue community. The WinBlue community is hosted by Marina Platform, a related project. And in this community, we will find good practices, courses, gender equality plan framework, coaching activity implemented in the WinBlue project, and so on. So now I would like to launch another event. It will be in November 22nd this year. This meeting will be in hybrid form, so in person and online. And this event will have the participation of the WinBig project. And at that time, we will present the first data obtained by data collection and stakeholder map for the 5 sectors. We will have a presentation of the gender equality plan, and some stakeholders from the different sectors will be present. Here you can find the contact detail of our project coordinator, Patrizia Grifoni, and our social media. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you to you, Rebecca. I think that it appears quite clearly that, of course, we have the policy line, but what is really needed urgently are data. We need, in order to put the base of policy action, we need to know what we are talking about. We need data. And I think that both projects are addressing this fundamental issue. I don't know whether we have questions around the table for the two, let's say, coordinators of this project. If not, I can tell you that these presentations will be, of course, circulated, and do not hesitate to contact us in order to have more information. So thank you very much, Elena. Thank you very much, Rebecca, for this presentation. Federazione del Mare, within its task, has to disseminate, has to spread the word, and that was the main idea behind this afternoon event within diplomacy. So thank you very much again. I just want to tell you all that WISTA Italy is also part of WinBig. You know, all I think that Elena explained repeatedly let's say the composition of the consortia, but these are really extensive and in all member states, in order to gather all not only the goodwills, but those who can be of added value in that exercise. So I think that now it's high time to go back on Earth, because after this, I have a dream that one day we will have all these data in order to build the ideal world. I think that now I have the pleasure, and it has been built on purpose, that after this I have a dream, let's say, introduction, to have here around the table the 4 let's say, les quatre mousquetaires of the industrial traditional Federazione del Mare, that is an Assonave, Assoporti, Federazione del Mare, and I would have said Confederazione Italiana Armatore, just to respect the alphabetic order. That is the ship owners, the shipyards, the ports, and the fisheries. By tradition, it is a male-dominated world. So as time is running, and I would like to have this interaction, I give the floor to you, Anna Maria Lacivita. You are the new Director General of Assonave. You are the first woman, you know, having that top management, let's put it that way, of the association, not the shipyard, but the association. For those online and connected through Diplo channel, Assonave is the National Association of the Shipbuilding Industry, is the trade association belonging to Confindustria that represents the interest of the Italian shipbuilding industry, bringing together shipbuilding and repair companies, manufacturers of systems and components of naval use, research companies, and companies providing service to the sector. The chairman of Assonave is the vice president of Federazione del Mare, but is also the vice president of the European Network of Maritime Cluster. And as such, you are one of our most distinguished, the 4 distinguished member of the Federazione del Mare. Please.
Thank you, Laurence. No pressure at all. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm honored to be here at the Festival of Diplomacy as Director of Assonave, representing the interest of the shipbuilding industry, which is clearly undergoing a profound transformation in terms of gender balance. But actually, if we look back at history, we realize that women across the globe have actually had a role in shipbuilding during World War II, when there was a shortage of male labor due to the war. And so women in an emergency situation had actually to step up to roles which had been performed by men before, and that was the first time. And they demonstrated that they did actually have the skills to perform these male-performed jobs. However, when the war finished and peace came back, and so all the men returned to the jobs, women lost their jobs again, and they were not allowed in shipyards anymore. And it was not until the 70s that women were allowed in shipyard and they could enter the industry again. Now, over the past few decades, a lot has been done in terms of changing the approach and promoting a more diverse workforce. And this is because there is a recognition that women bring value to the table in terms of bringing a diverse point of view. They bring access to a broader pool of talents, as we were saying. I mean, obviously, you don't access just the 20% of the workforce, but you can access half of the workforce. And they can bring contribution to have a more creative solution to some of the challenges that the shipbuilding industry and the maritime industry actually face. So there has been a lot being done, and we heard all these projects that also the European Union is putting in place, and it was actually very good to hear from Elena, from Lydia, and also from Rebecca about these projects going on, because they actually provide tools to enable us as an association and key stakeholders in the industry to foster a more diverse workforce. Now, a lot has been done in terms of overcoming challenges, in terms of gender stereotypes about limited representation, women representation in the industry, and also awareness of professional career paths that you actually have in the industry. So I'm glad about this EU project because they go exactly in that direction to try and gather data, but also raising awareness and networking. But a lot still needs to be done, and there are some fundamental tools that we can use in terms of education, because I think that it is important and it is key to actually foster diversity also in accessing some educational careers which have been, in the past, have been considered more for men. And being in shipbuilding, I don't mean just careers, university careers like naval engineers or mechanical engineers, but I'm also thinking about more technologically advanced careers in ICT, digital careers, because these are going to be fundamental to build and to develop a sustainable, future-proofed industry in the future. Then obviously coaching and mentoring is another very important tool, because there is a need to raise awareness of careers, but also build a network and create role models that can inspire younger generation and women who are already in the sectors, in the industry, so that they can rely on a network to develop further skills and to progress. Networking is absolutely fundamental. So as Rebecca was mentioning before, I mean, obviously lots needs to be done on the front, and then the policies in companies to try and create a work environment which is obviously more ensuring more work-life balance and like smart working or kindergartens or other working policies that can support women. So in line with the Assonave's mission, which is to create the conditions for an Italian shipbuilding industry which is competitive and which is sustainable and technological advanced, then obviously we have the opportunity to play an active role in creating and fostering a more diverse workforce. And I'm glad to hear that obviously there are lots of tools, and it's connecting the dots and trying to leverage all these tools that already exist, and together we can have a better results. Thank you.
Thank you to you. In fact, l'union fait la force. So thank you to you. Thank you for stressing on the origin of the issue, cultural issue. We need to educate. We need education from the early age. That's the way. And this can be done not, it can be done it's a societal, I don't know if I pronounce it very well in English, issue that should be addressed in each member states by governments. That's something that has to be done at school. And then we have, of course, all the issues that could be addressed through professional and dedicated, let's say, models for those choosing maritime. But there are a two-level action, as you rightly pointed out. Thank you very much for your témoignage. And now I turn to the other Director General, because we have two Director General in the Federazione del Mare in charge of very important policies, the fisheries and aquaculture. For you, promoting women is not something new, because I think that for the fisheries, women, from the beginning, I'll say from the origin of the world, have always been very active and part of all the process, but they were invisible. So now you are all these action you are creating is to make sure that these women are becoming more visible. Please, Francesca Biondo, Direttore Generale, Director General of Fisheries, the Association of Fisheries and Aquaculture in Italy.
Thank you very much, Laurence. Good afternoon to all, and please, First of all, let me thank Federazione del Mare and in particular the General Secretary Laurence Martin for this kind invitation to participate to this important workshop organized in the framework of Diplomacy Festival. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today in this wonderful place with such a number of women, finally. Usually the meeting I used to take part are not like this, unfortunately, but it's a real pleasure to talk about women empowerment in the fishery sector, especially because, as Laurence mentioned before, this is an important week, the Gender Equality Week, and the European Parliament initiative to highlight the necessary continuous efforts to place women at the center of legislation. So I would like to say something about this in the fishery sector. Federpesca is the National Federation of Fishing Enterprises in Italy, which associates, represents, and protects the Italian ship owners, fishers, and companies of the fishing sector towards Italian public administration, but also Italian Parliament and European Union institution. And Federpesca has long been committed to implementing projects to support fishers and their families, to promote gender equality and women empowerment, blue growth, food security, and reskilling and upskilling, and of course to protect the marine environment, especially in Italy, but also in the Mediterranean and African areas. As Laurence mentioned, contrary to what many people think, women in fisheries sector have always played active and key roles, making significant contribution to the whole industry. For example, in family fishing enterprises, women often carry on land-based tasks such as marketing, administration, taking care of relations with shipyards, service cooperatives, and captain's office. For instance, in Ancona, in the Adriatic Sea, women working in the family fishing enterprises wake up at 1 a.m. in the night to go to the wholesale fish market to sell the products that their husbands, son, brothers have caught during the fishing trip. And this is a strenuous job which is added to the activities they carry on throughout the rest of the day as mother, wife, sister, and often also doing other jobs as well during the day. But however, their role in Italy is not legally recognized, as their activities in the family fishing enterprises fall under, we can say, domestic responsibility. So they lack a specific legal status. Therefore, they are not paid, but most of all, do not receive any social welfare benefits, making them an invisible presence in this sector. This is a situation that in Italy has been overcome since years in the agricultural or trade sectors, for example. And moreover, this status of invisibility explains also why in Italy we don't have so many data on women's employment in the fishing sectors. For this reason, Federpesca is working now with the support of the Italian research cooperative Nisea to create a mapping of the number of women working in the sector. Currently, we have some numbers. For example, we only know that in 2017, the percentage of women working as fishers is only 1.5%, while an estimated 48%, so the half of the population working in processing, marketing, and administration. In 2010, the European Union took steps toward legal recognition of women's role in the family enterprises guaranteed by the Directive 41 of 2010, which gives spouses or cohabitants of fishermen a legal status that allows them to access social benefits such as maternity, leave, social security, pension, and training, of course. Most European countries have transposed this directive in the national legislation, but Italy, after 13 years, is not among them. Federpesca has been working for years to ask our government to provide a national level, a legal framework to recognize women's informal contribution to fisheries and aquaculture enterprises, and policies are needed not only to have this legal framework and, of course, this welfare statement, but also to push women working in the fishery sector to believe in themselves, to aware of their role in the society and in their families' enterprises, at themselves with self-awareness and self-determination criteria. Legislative recognition for these sectors is also a step in this direction, and it is a necessary tool to give visibility of women and make them protagonists of the sustainable blue growth. And at the same time, self-awareness and the achievement of leading roles in the enterprises family can also be achieved by understanding the importance of networking, of course, with other women, that is sharing different experiences and learning from other, thus expanding one's life and work dimensions. And overcoming gender inequalities and stereotypes requires a reconversion of the entire fishery sector, enabling women to become key players for a sustainable future for fisheries at social, economic, and environmental level. In order to achieve this goal, Federpesca also supports projects such as Donne della Pesca, Women in Fisheries, which I would like to bring today as best practice, and I would like to share a little video with you. This project has been implemented by Flag Chioggia Delta del Po in the area near Venice, and its overall goal of the project is to improve the quality of life and work of women engaged in the fisheries and aquaculture sector. The main activities carried out are, as the colleagues mentioned before with these two projects that you presented today, elaborate a census of the female population employed in the sector and collected socio-economic data, develop an action strategy document articulated in action to support the implementation, the 2030 agenda for the maritime and blue economy sectors, and realization of training and awareness raising path dedicated to skill improvement, capacity building, and empowerment for young women entrepreneurs, in order also to create a network among women working in the fishery sector. So if you can launch the brief video, please. Yes.
È la passione che ti porta, insomma, a questo sacrificio, perché insomma è una vita dura.
Stiamo a bordo anche diversi giorni, dormendo sui pescherecci, insomma, quindi ci vuole un po' di spirito di adattamento.
Sono una mamma di 2 figli, sono anche una nonna, si viene alla mattina presto, 5, 5 e mezza, dopo si esce in barca qua dal capanno e si va nelle lagune e da 25 anni che faccio il lavoro della pesca delle vongole.
Il granchio blu è la prima specie che abbiamo preso in considerazione in quanto è quella che sta creando più problemi ai pescatori.
Prendo la classica scafetta, quello che lascia proprio marito, diciamo, alla moglie, la scafetta.
Dobbiamo pensare alla parte contabile ed amministrativa, e poi ovviamente alla casa e ai figli e a tutte le incombenze di qualunque altra donna. L'unica cosa è che noi lavoriamo forse per 12 ore. Ecco.
Thank you very much, and I hope to have brought today an overview of what is the situation in Italy of women working in the fishery sector, the challenges and of course the opportunities for the future. I think that this meeting marks a great chance for all of us to create a strong network to work together for the empowerment of women working in all the sectors of blue economy. So thank you very much.
Thank you to you, and I think that from now on, because I don't want to anticipate what could be the conclusion, but I mean, there is a network here, there is a core that has to be, let's say, further fertilized, because we have to repeat periodically these kind of meetings, because there is a way forward, because as far as I can understand, you have all a policy line, a vision, a strategy, and a working plan, and there are some developments, periodic developments to report, and we have to keep the momentum alive in order to show that we are delivering little by little, but we are delivering to change, to make a change. And this brings me to the next speaker, Tiziana Murgia. We know each other for some time now, too. You are the head of communication and environment in the Italian Port Associations. And 2 weeks ago, the Association of Italian Ports, Assoporti, and the Port System Authorities have taken another step forward, breaking down gender inequalities with the signing of a revolutionary declaration of intent called No Woman, No Panel. So please tell us more about that, because last time we met at the council, at the board meeting of the Federazione del Mare, during which we had this item, Women in the Blue Economy, on agenda. You were also there together with, I remember with you, you were not there at the time, and to report on the charter, But please, give us the overall situation in ports concerning gender equality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Laurence, as usual, excellent introduction. Thank you very much. I'm not a director, I'm not a general director, clearly. I'm an executive in the Italian Ports Association. You talked about the 4 Musketeers. Can I ask you if I can be D'Artagnan, please? who are 4 men, though. For the 4 Musketeers are 2 men, are 4 men. It's a pleasure for me to be here and share my thoughts and my experience with people of this level. It's a very interesting meeting, very high-level presence, which is important, especially in our field, the ports field. Laurence knows, because we often see each other in meetings that are together with ship owners and ports, and they're not always very high level because of a series of meetings. One thing I must note, we are all women, almost, except for maybe somebody online as well, but and this is very rare, because usually they're all men, not only as speakers, but also in the public, especially on certain specific issues. And on one hand, it's a pleasure to be here amongst very high-level women. On the other hand, it worries me that men do not follow these events as they should. because we need a hand from men. You've said that before. It was one of the issues in the project. We need to have men as our allies to bring forward all the issues that are still relevant and present in our everyday work. So actually we're having one man, maybe another man coming in now, the director of Confitarma, an important man. Yeah. So if you can put on my presentation, which helps me think of the things and answer your question, which is obviously what the No Women, No Panel declaration wants to get to. But I want to explain a couple of things beforehand, because not everybody who is present here today knows a lot about Assoporti, the Italian Ports Association, maybe, because it's new for many people, maybe online or maybe even here today. The Italian Ports Association brings together all the port authorities in the country, today called Port System or Port Network Authorities. Since 2016, they are port authorities in the rest of the world, and that brings together about 62 ports. So we are the association of the public part, of public in the sense of the institutions that manage all the port areas, and we bring them all together in our association. Port authorities in Italy exist since the 28th of January 1994, which means that on the 28th of January 2024, 30 years will be celebrated of the law that changed the previous management of ports into port authorities. So I'll tell you when to change. It's fine, this slide is fine now. I'll tell you next. After 30 years, and there used to be 24 port authorities, not 16, in 30 years, and I think I did a rough count in my mind while you were all speaking, I think about 120 presidents have come through over these years. First 24 port authorities, then 16. Only 2 were women in all of these 30 years. And that makes me think, because we're talking about the public, the management part, not a port worker as you might imagine. No, that might not be something that a woman might think of doing. Even maybe a fishery work might seem tough, at least as you think of it. Not even in our field, we've seen men, or we see men today. 16 port authorities, 16 men, presidents. Move on to the Secretary Generals. Over these 30 years, I've seen 6 women. At present, there are 2, finally, together at the same time, because usually there was one and then disappeared for another 10 years and there was another one. And this makes us think, because I usually get this answer when I say this to presidents of port authorities, to directors of port authorities. The answer is, it's too soon. It's too soon. Women are not have been in this field for such a short time. Not true. I personally have been in this field for 25 years. I started off in 1998 and in a port authority for 11 years, and then moved on to working in an association for a series of personal choices as well. And I get the same answers after 25 years. So we have to think about what we're doing for the future, not of ourselves, but of our children as well, and the future women, the young women who approach this field. I mean, I meet them sometimes because we give a reward each year. Now it's each 2 years because they changed the events, for the best university thesis in the cruise field. And we're very proud of this. And I've seen a lot of girls, a lot of young women win this award. And asking me, but to get in, yeah, you work. They do get into the Port Authority. Usually remain around the middle management field, which is the typical field of the woman. In administrative, we're talking about port authorities do administrative work mainly. So it's not impossible. Even hours and working shifts are not so tough if you have a family, etc., etc. Considering we live in a country that has very low-level welfare. So Middle management. Haven't seen very many Secretary Generals or Presidents. And 30 years have gone by. 30 years, 28th of January 2024. This is just something I wanted to say while we are looking at a slide that indicates the orientation of the SDGs, of the Sustainable Development Goals that the United Nations have suggested in general in the world. We do realise that in the world, as was said, there are less women work and they are paid less generally. In our field, it was said that 29% of are female workers in general, 20% in the maritime, 2% in the seafarers. In Italy, these percentages are lower because we did a small analysis a couple of years ago when we signed the charter. And we noticed these phenomena. In the port authorities, there are now today many women, middle management level. A couple have high-level executive levels, but very few Secretary Generals, no presidents. In the port area in general, we have a lower percentage of women working compared to the rest of Europe. And maybe even some other countries extra-EU. So this should make us think why this happens. I sometimes think about it when I go to the many meetings and conferences where maybe I meet my colleagues, Nolly or Laurence. It's one thing I've noticed, and here I see an excellent exception, that even the presidents and the general directors of the associations are men. In the unions that represent us, the chiefs are men. So the working contracts are signed, are written by men who may not all exactly have a clear idea of the welfare. It's not only a money question. Contracts, working contracts are not only a money question, they're not only an economic question. They're welfare. And so many things are not considered, which are part of the lives of women that have a biological difference, but only a biological difference, according to me, and which makes them become mothers and have a duty, maybe, in the first couple of years of the birth of a child, those who decide to have a child. If you look at the little, it's in Italian, unfortunately, the little table it's recent because it's 2022. ASVIS is a foundation that was founded to elaborate the SDGs, and this is the part regarding gender equality. If we look at that, and this is general workforce, lower women rates, and most women who are working are women who don't have children. So when we are asked, and when in Italy there is a demographic problem, everybody's aware of this. Personally, I have two, so I contributed to keeping a basis of demography. But it's true, my daughters, because I have two daughters, and they could be having children in another 4 or 5 years, age-wise. The first thing they say, yeah, but it interrupts my career, it's difficult, how do I keep them? Where do I keep them if you're not around? And this is something that I think Italy should take up. And I think we could be the people, as maritime and ports, who take it up as an issue. And I wanted to say this while we were looking at, SDGs and data that come from the SDGs and the workforce in general. I think we are an example because it's difficult to work in this field for many reasons. It's a complex field. It's not well known. People generally don't really know what we do, and it's also our fault, probably, because we don't really communicate. It's a very small world for a couple of people, and maybe it's even useful that it remains small and for a couple of people. And maybe if we explain it better, we can have a lot of those new young women working for us in IT, as well as engineering, in the harbour master's office, on ships, in ports, and maybe even, representing us on the tables that decide contracts and that decide the future of the work of women. Could you go to the next slide, please? Now, going into the specific, a couple of years ago, 2019, because before that date, Assoporti, who has had a long history, in 7 days, Assoporti will be 50 years old. It was born before the law that established the port authorities. So it knows the part of history of ports that were before the port authorities as well. So 29th of October, we're turning 50. So I'm a little bit older, but that's okay. And so it's done a lot of things over the years, over the 30 years, especially the 30 years of the establishment of port authorities. But only until 2019, we actually came up with the necessity to develop a working group for the gender gap problem, for the gender gap issue. And the first thing we did was sign the charter, which was an equal opportunity agreement. After 2 years of in the making, we decided, and it was not easy, to undersign a declaration, which actually was born in the EU, No Women, No Panel. Because it's important to, on the one hand, establish equal opportunities for the workforce in ports, for ports, and for the future of our ports. Our ports are national, but they are also of the world. I always say this because it's a frontier and it belongs to everybody. It's an important resource. And then to try to be present at meetings, conferences, events, workshops, and involve the many women who are doing a great job and may only be at the middle management level because that's how things work. You know, in Italy they call it la stanza dei bottoni, you know, the room where people are sewing and fixing the buttons, the final part of a jacket. That's where it comes from. No? And that's a place usually reserved to males in general. In our field, it's very clear. Could you go to the next slide, please? So through our initiative, Italian Port Days, and which was dedicated in 2021 to women, and to objective number 5, we started this pathway, which I personally, I mean, I'm the coordinator of the group, obviously, and men are keep very far from this group, but in the end, the presidents sign the declarations and our charters, probably feeling that if they say no, the situation is not simple to justify. What's happening in the country and in the world? The critical situation in the world is that women are losing rights. The graph on the left is, which clearly shows, also from ASVIS, shows how women's rights and the improvement of women's rights is actually going down since 2019. And it's not going up. And that's a general graph related to women's rights in general. So we have to think about that. That's why I said we have to be, I think, you know, the pioneers of something that changes. And it can start from the maritime world because it's part of the world, as I said before. It's not only national. Next slide, please. We need data. And we need to spread the word. Data is also usually in the hands of few people. It's very difficult to have. We try to get it out, and I must say that it's difficult to get from ports. The data on how many women are occupying certain roles and what they're doing is very, very difficult to have. We ask for it periodically. From the port authorities, it's pretty easy because being public institutions, it's available in any case on the Ministry of Transport's website. But from the rest of the ports, it's difficult really to understand how things are going. And so we need that to raise awareness. I'm using your words, the words that were said before. We need the data to spread the word and raise awareness so that we can foster diversity and enhance the new generations in these professions. And that way we'll be represented rightfully. Because as I said in the beginning, next slide please, because I think it's at the end. I didn't know, the slides were only for for my attention seeking of myself. Could you change slide, please? We need to foster ourselves and take care of ourselves. We need to be represented on the tables that decide what we're doing and how we're doing it. Because until we are on the other side, I mean, I don't want to divide the world in males against. We're not against. We're working together, because in the family you work together. We have to try to find that type of agreement. And we have to have women representing us on the tables that decide how we're working and what we're doing, and how well we can, and what we can bring to the table, because our biological differences create, differences in the way we approach things, which is something that we're losing, which is what was said by Lawrence in the beginning, The European Union said that, you're losing half of the population's opinion and, contribution to a field that's so important like ports, maritimes, ships, where everything travels, where all the goods that we have around us have traveled, where a lot of people travel. So it's something that we all have to think about, and we have to work together to change this and to be the forecomers of this. Thank you very much. The next slide is thank you.
Diana, from what we heard, I think that Sopporti as the right person to be considered as a game changer from inside. So hope that, and from all the policies that you are promoting within the association, I think that you are definitely an added value in order to promote and to ensure that a gender gap policy. So thank you for what you are doing. And to go back to what you were saying, Francesca, you were mentioning the Gender Week, the European Parliament Gender Week that is underway from today till the end of the week. That's the reason why, unfortunately, we contacted, of course, the representation of the European Parliament and the European Commission. They all were very enthusiastic about our initiative. Yes, we are coming, but today that was the beginning also of their initiative. So that's the reason why they are quite busy. But I do hope that they are connected through Diplo channel. These, let's say, workshop is registered and will be available for a one-year period, I think, under the website of the Festival of the Diplomacy. And we will have the occasion to meet again. So I wanted, before giving the floor to the next three speakers, we have been in contact with the European Network of Maritime Cluster when we were in Brussels with the intergroup Sirica. That groups all the let's say, European members, European Parliament members from different political groups that are interested to sea and river. And to put it short, they were quite interested in order to organize a NADOC event for let's say, blue economy, and in particular, women in the blue economy. So we will let you know when it is possible, the schedule that has been fixed for this event in order to reproduce that very interesting conversation. Now, because time is running, I would like to shift to the ship owners. The ship owners that contrary to what one could think, they are probably the most advanced sector in the blue economy when talking about gender equality. And I'm very pleased to welcome Andrea Fernandez. Andrea Fernandez, you recently joined the Social Affairs Department at the International Chamber of Shipping. And briefly, for those who don't know, International Chamber of Shipping since 1921 is the global trade association for ship owners and operators. You're based in London. We are representing the world's National Ship Owner Association, and you cover 80% of the world merchant fleet. You have members from around 40 countries, and you are, I would say, quite powerful and quite proactive when dealing with gender equality. But I just want to give you the floor because 2 years ago you produced a very, very interesting, this is the toolkit because we have one here in the association, and I hope that most of the shipping companies have one copy of this toolkit, Diversity and Inclusion Toolkit for Shipping. It's not only about women, it's about diversity, it's about inclusion, but you're the one to tell the story. Please, Andrea.
Hi, thank you for the kind introduction. I'm just going to share my presentation. Just let me know when you can see it.
Not yet, but coming soon. Yes.
So perfect. Thank you for the kind introduction again. And you have covered up, obviously, what ICS does. So I'm just going to dive into what we have done with regards to the toolkit. And I can't be talking about a toolkit without first talking about what is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So within the maritime context, diversity extends beyond nationalities and ethnicities, encompassing a plethora of skills, talents, and perspectives emerging from different roles, from deckheads to engineers and port managers to navigators, recognizing each individual's unique experience shaped by their journeys and cultures represented. But diversity alone is not sufficient. Inclusion ensures that everyone is treated, feels welcome, valued, and empowered. And producing an inclusive maritime industry where gender, race, ethnicity, and other factors enable growth and success. And it fosters a workplace culture where every voice is heard. Equity ensures that everyone has access to the same opportunities and resources, regardless of the backgrounds or circumstances that they face. And by addressing systemic barriers and creating policies and practices that promote fairness and inclusion. At ICS, to address these different issues, we have formed two panels. One is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion panel, and one is specifically for women. Because what we have realized is the issues that women face is quite different to the issues that wider diversity face. And with regards to this, we have produced three toolkits. We've produced basically a three-step approach. One of them is a toolkit. The other two is a diversity and inclusion tracker and a charter, and then we have the toolkit. The charter is a free tool for companies to use in order to evaluate where they stand today in their current diversity needs. And the toolkit is what I'm going to be focusing on today. So this is what a toolkit looks like. And as our chair kindly showed, that she has a copy of it. It's 116 pages diversity toolkit available from the Marisec publication, which provides resources, strategies, and best practices to help organizations promote DE&I in the workplace. It incorporates tools such as guides, training modules, checklists, and assessments for organizations to assess their current DE&I levels, identify areas of improvement, and develop strategies for future action. There's also ongoing work to use the toolkit to produce complementary training to go for companies. So it's not just a talking shop, it's basically trying to have practical use for this toolkit. And one of the key areas that the toolkit covers is the action plan. And today I'm going to be talking to you about how you can use the action plan for your companies to improve diversity and inclusion. So the first thing that you can do is collect all available data from company databases and external resources to check where you stand in DE&I. And this can be done by creating surveys and interviews, developing a plan to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion by creating awareness and strengthening policies, and implementing the plan by creating support groups or reporting frameworks to create an environment where everyone feels included. Finally, it's also important to constantly evaluate and ensure that the framework remains updated and effective and keeps up with societal changes. And I'm going to end this thing by saying that we all smile in the same language. So I invite you all to imagine a maritime sector where the captain, the engineer, and the navigator, and all crew members represent different corners of the world, united by their passion of the sea, with respect for one another and their commitment to excellence. This is within our reach and starts with each one of us championing diversity and inclusion in all spheres of influence. And this is the link to the diversity and inclusion toolkit and to the free charter that I mentioned about. And I'm happy to share the presentation on request.
Thank you very much indeed, Andrea. And for those interested in having a copy of this diversity and inclusion toolkit for shipping, it is available online. Of course, it's something that you has to pay, but I think it's a very interesting, innovative document that is that will be presented, and that will give me the shift to the next the next presentation, but to Vista, because I think that Elio Vincent, the head of the department, social department, is at the moment flying or arriving in Uruguay to attend Vista International General Assembly, because he will present also this important document. But without any further ado, I shift to what is very important, a very important partner for the Federazione del Mare, the Italian Coast Guard. We, the ship owners, because I'm also working as international affairs of the Italian Ship Owners Association. Ship owners and the Italian Coast Guard are really privileged, let's say, have a privileged relation. So, and at the moment, you are dealing with a theme that is very important for us. You are dealing with the European Maritime Single Window, and we are very happy to have with us Barbara Magro to tell us exactly what is, at which stage are we in Italy to implement. What is something that dates from, you know, quite a long time, but that will be essential in the digitalization transition. Please, Barbara Magro.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you for the kind invitation, and good afternoon all. I'm really glad to be here today. And as a Coast Guard officer, I'm presently employed in the technology department of the Italian Coast Guard headquarters. A strange employment, I would say, for, I have been said also, for a lawyer, but here I am. And my presentation is maybe out of coil, being gender neutral, the implementation of the European Maritime Single Windows, but there are many actors involved in port reality, so I think you will understand my presentation. I would say, oh, thank you. You launched the presentation, and you can skip the next slide, please. Go. My personal experience is probably more linked to the item of the panel, witnessing the pioneeristic role of women in Coast Guard. I joined the Coast Guard in 2000. This is a newspaper, an image of newspaper of 2000. The first year open to female. And I knew since the beginning that it would have been a professional and life challenge that I made, a challenging choice that I made. But I'm still here after 23 years and many experiences, enjoying my work and thanking my administration for the opportunity I had. Tutor of cadets, legal office, training office, and from 2020 to 2022, I also had the honor to be harbour master in a district port. I was the first and only female for 2 years harbour master in an international relevance port. So I'm really glad to witness this important goal. And in my working experience, and as you can see from the slide, I also had the opportunity to represent Italy in international organization, holding the function as chair in important working groups. Now, as I said before, I'm in the technology department of Coast Guard headquarters, and that's why I'm here talking about an important project for Coast Guard and Italy that I've started following. Next slide, please. I will talk about European Maritime Single Windows, what European Maritime Single Windows is, so a quick overview, a background, legal framework, and what are the benefits for the future. Next slide. Every year in 170 national ports, commercial ships from all over the world make approximately 69,150 ship calls that are fundamental for countries' economies. When ships enter and leave ports, vital information must be exchanged with various entities on shore. Informations that are crucial for the protection of human life at sea, environment protection and safety of navigation. Those info, for those who are not familiar, are called formalities. And the main item of this festival is technology, betting on human factors. And technologies always played a fundamental role in shipping world. In the past, next slide please, the main challenge was the trip in itself, a trip that could last months and that which result wasn't foregone. Technology supported the evolution of naval architecture to guarantee a safe navigation to reach the port. But today, we can say that the trip lasts very short. The main challenge is bureaucracy. Consider that in 1 year, roughly 115,000 trains of information are exchanged between ships and shore authorities, and 70% of shipping data shared among stakeholders are the same. The problem, next slide, was so felt in the maritime world that they started looking for a solution at global level. It was 1965 when IMO found in standardization of process and the use of format the first answer to the need of help and smooth the exchange of info. At that time, there were not the modern computers, so the solution was still on paper. In 2002, for the first time at EU level, digital systems started being used in the maritime world. It was the born of SafeSeaNet, a system of exchange of information related to the type of vessel, cargoes, routes within European ports. And it was established a community vessel traffic monitoring information system. In 2010, there was the real revolution. We talked of digital formalities, and they started talking about principles that are still fundamental today. Submit once, interoperability. All member states were invited to create a national single window for managing shipping data. But this was not enough, because single windows were national. In 2019, the EU made a step forward. All the national single windows need now to be harmonized, being able to be interoperable and submitting data only once within all the European ports. That means digital and data harmonization, not only with different authorities of a member state, but within Europe. It's a European maritime single windows environment that will be operative from the 15th of August 2025. The need of harmonization is in the exchange of shipping data is a global need, and in the same year also IMO created the single window that will be operative from the 1st of January 2024, and the system will talk each other. Italy transposed EU legislation giving to Italian Coast Guard the task to implement the digital system. And in 2021, Italian Coast Guard has been identified as national competent authority for European Maritime Single Window, with the task and the responsibility to create a digital system and coordinate all the authorities involved in the formalities process at national level. Next. EMSBE, much more easy, enabled electronic exchange of infos required at arrival, stay, and departure of ships in port, and it connects government agencies and subjects like custom, immigrations, port health, coast guards, statistics, with direct benefits in terms of time. Next slide. In 2018, the EU commissioned a study for assessing the benefit of a national single window. And it came out that the total time saved in 10 years is estimated between 22 to 25 million staff hours, equivalent to a value of roughly 700 million euros. For the same period, 7-year study, transport emissions are estimated to decrease by 1,880,000 tons of CO2. To sum up the benefits, what are the benefits? Crew will have more time for following and developing safety and security procedures. Shorter ship calls will reduce ship pollution, less cost for ship owners. So more efficient, more secure maritime traffic will be reached. The conclusion is that maybe the bet this time is not won by human factors.
Thank you very much. I think that this issue, the European Maritime Single Window issue, will require a dedicated 2 hours workshop. For sure. But thank you, Barbara, for this inspiring presentation, and those who are interesting knows where you are, and I do hope that we will have the occasion to organize a dedicated, because normally we do it at the level of the Italian Shipowners Association, Confitarma. So thank you. But as we are really running out of time, because really, I think I kept the Caterina Cerini, the board member of WISTA, as the last one because WISTA is the umbrella, let's say, association of all women in the maritime sector. I know that you had your national, I think, a General Assembly in this room. I'm very sorry I was not there at the time, but I remember that some month ago you were there. You are very proactive. Tell us what you're doing at national level. I know that this week also is the week of your national, of your international General Assembly in Montevideo. Tell us more. Caterina, you have the floor.
Thank you, Laurence. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, indeed.
Okay. Thank you, Laurence, for the invitation, first of all, and thank you to Federazione del Mare. Yes, indeed, this is the week of the AGM, which will start tomorrow until the 27th. So this is a General Assembly of WISTA International, while I'm in the board of WISTA Italy. And yes, you are definitely right. WISTA is a kind of umbrella of this network. Indeed, I have to thank also the ladies that spoke before me for the insightful presentation and for the, if I can tell you, the passion and the energy that you put into the job that you have been doing so far. I'm going to share a very short presentation of WISTA for those who don't know who we are. Okay, so WISTA in Pils, it is an association, the Association of Women in Shipping and in Logistics. At international level, we are more than 4,000 members today, distributed in 56 countries. And in Italy, we count over 80 ladies, but we are growing fast. The mission is to attract and support women in the maritime, commercial and logistics. How? By trying to decrease the gap. We have been talking about this issue all the afternoon, and facilitating the professional development of women by working with all institutions and all stakeholders of our cluster. The coverage of WISTA at national level is quite large, as you can see, in all our nation. And also in terms of professional, there are many ship owners, representative of terminal, only one indeed, currently, quite a lot of authorities, ladies engaged in transport, in press, in training basically, and education, in nautical services, in the yachting line, especially in Italy, in the consultancy services, and there are also 7 lawyers within our association. What does increase in female employment and overcome the gender gap mean? Well, first of all, it's an improvement of the economical situation in every country, because women, but we have been talked already, can contribute to building diversity leadership because of our different skills. I mean, as Tiziana said, and other ladies said already, we have to work together with men. It's not a matter of gender gap, but it's something that we have to look at beyond this and put the person in the middle of the skills, of the improvement, of the values, everyone with its characteristics, let me say. So to do this, as unfortunately our world is still pervaded by men, especially at the directive roles, and this still lay also in the new generations today. We have to impose a change in mentality and in cultural approach. The international background, everybody knows in this room, just a couple of points. In 2018, WISTA has been appointed as an advisory body of IMO. And in 2021, IMO launched the first International Maritime Day of Women in the Maritime Sector. So what is the agenda? What are we doing currently in WISTA? WISTA Italy, the new board settled last year, and which will last next year. By the way, it will be our 30th anniversary in 2024. And we started thinking how to improve our network, and we started to do that from a survey asking our members for their expectations. And these are the words that came out from the survey: sharing, empowerment, sense of belonging, networking, professionalism, gender gap, of course. So starting from that, we settled our agenda, which is quite an intense program, actually, including training, including sharing experience, to attract people, attract also new generation ladies, and retain them, and get more visibility. There are quite a lot of initiatives that we have in place, like the one called From Port to Port, which is a technical visit plus networking, of course, that we have been done already in Port of Livorno, of Savona, of Cagliari. Tomorrow we will be in La Spezia for this visit. A coffee with, again, is another appointment every month, the first Tuesday of every month. Online, we invite a personality to share her experience and to facilitate also the knowledge transfer. The Personality Award is something that we restarted to think of this year. We are quite active on the social medias and press as well. We are ambassador of a SHIO, which is a WIS International Educational Course specifically studied for the directive roles. And many of our members are now involved in national and international panels as speakers, just to follow the path of no women, no panels. 3 of our members of WISTA Italy are also quite engaged in the WISTA international committees, in particular the technology, the yachting and environmental committees. So there are quite a lot of activities running. Basically, we put really quite a lot of energy and passion in transmitting our values to try to achieve the final goals. So what is the future for WISTA? We think that first of all, we have to be prepared to the new challenges, prepared to the digital. We have been discussed also about digitalization, energy transition, and the blue economy, generally speaking, and we have to be prepared to these challenges. Trying to get young women on board with the same passion, with the same energy, and the same vision to achieve the expected results. So what I can say, we are open to new initiatives and cooperation with all of you. I hope that this workshop will be, there will be a second edition, let's say, of this interesting network that you put in place today. And last but not least, next year will be the anniversary of WISTA Italy, and you are all invited. I will tell you at the time being, the location and the date. But you can follow the WISTA activities on our website, and please reach out by writing me or at info email for any issues, any questions, and hopefully also to get involved within WISTA Italy. Thank you.
Very much, Caterina. You convinced us. Those who are not member at the moment will be member. So I think that I just wanted to say that at the Italian Shipowners Association, we have currently a vice president, a woman, I think that 10 years ago, the president of the Young Shipowners Group was a woman, Valeria Novella. And next year, for the first
time in history at the European Community Shipowners Association at European level. For the first time, a woman will chair the European Shipowners Association. Karen Olser, she is currently the president, well, she has been president of the Netherlands Shipowners Association. So things are moving. But I would say that I have a proposal to all of you. As we have been, let's say, revising the bylaws of the Federazione del Mare, it has been decided also that we should organize the work through committees, working groups, things like that. So you can rely on your, well, I don't know whether we will be reconfirmed, but I do rely anyway on you to also push for introducing these, let's say, diversity and inclusion policy within all the, let's say, discussions we will have within this, let's say, committees or working group that we will, let's say, create probably next year. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you here in this room, to all those who are listening through the web channel of diplomacy. It has been very interesting. I hope that we have to renew this experience all together, and because there is a work in progress. This time, not men work in progress, but women work in progress. So thank you again. Thank you to Diplomacy for this opportunity, and have a nice afternoon all.
Thank you.